Seduction is the most subtle and timeless form of power. It doesn't conquer through force, intimidation, or authority. It wins through charm, psychology, and illusion. This is the foundation of Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction, a study of how people throughout history have mastered influence by working on the emotions and desires of others. Greene's thesis is simple but profound. While brute strength may command obedience, seduction commands the heart, and once you hold someone's heart, their actions follow naturally. Seduction is not just about romance or attraction. It is about persuasion in its purest form, the ability to lead people willingly, even eagerly, in the direction you choose. In today's world, seduction is everywhere. It shapes relationships, drives politics, sells ideas, and builds empires. From Cleopatra to Kennedy, from Casanova to modern advertising, those who understand seduction wield invisible influence that others can feel but rarely name. This audiobook summary explores that hidden power. It is divided into 4 parts. The seductive character, the 9 archetypes that naturally attract and captivate. The seductive process, 24 timeless strategies that lead from attraction to surrender. The seductive phase in history, how great figures have used seduction as their ultimate weapon. Anti-seduction and reversal, the warning signs, mistakes, and moral lessons that come with wielding such power. Prepare to enter the psychology of attraction, persuasion, and control, the silent art that moves the world. Click the subscribe button and let's begin. Part 1. The seductive character. Every act of seduction begins with character. Before words, strategy, or technique, there is presence. People are drawn not to what you say, but to what you radiate. The first step to mastering the art of seduction is to understand the archetype that lives within you, the seductive character that naturally captivates others. Robert Greene identifies 9 timeless archetypes of the seducer, each rooted in deep human desire. Every type embodies a different fantasy that awakens longing, fascination, or surrender. These types are not roles to imitate mechanically, they are energies to understand, refine, and make your own. 1. The siren, the allure of sensuality and promise of pleasure. The siren is irresistible because she embodies the forbidden and the sensual. She offers escape from duty, control, and restraint. Throughout history, men of power, Caesar, Antony, and countless others, have risked everything for a woman like Cleopatra. She used voice, appearance, and mystery to weave a dream that no warrior's discipline could resist. To embody the siren is to understand that allure is not about beauty alone. It is about anticipation, contrast, and the power to make others imagine pleasures beyond their reach. 2. The rake, the power of intense desire. Where the siren enchants through promise, the rake conquers through passion. He lives for pleasure and makes his target feel adored, desired, and uniquely fascinating. His energy is contagious, his pursuit relentless. Casanova was the perfect rake. His attention made his lovers feel alive, desired in ways they had never known. The rake teaches that sincerity in desire, even if temporary, is seductive. People cannot resist those who make them feel irresistible. 3. The ideal lover, the architect of fantasy. The ideal lover appeals not to reality but to dreams. They sense what others long for, romance, adventure, tenderness, recognition, and reflect it back to them like a mirror. Madame de Pompadour won the heart of King Louis XV not with beauty but with imagination, offering him elegance, culture, and fantasy that filled his dull royal life. To become an ideal lover is to study the unfulfilled desires around you and become the living embodiment of them. 4. The dandy, the symbol of freedom and mystery. The dandy breaks all conventions. Neither fully masculine nor feminine, they project independence from society's expectations. Their confidence and style fascinate because they represent freedom, the dream of living by one's own rules. Figures like Oscar Wilde and Rudolph Valentino use the dandy's fluidity to attract both admiration and desire. The dandy seduces by suggestion, by making others crave the liberty they embody. 5. The natural, the power of innocence and spontaneity. The natural disarms through childlike openness. They are genuine, spontaneous, and free of calculation. Their charm lies in what the adult world has lost: playfulness, warmth, and emotional honesty. People around them drop their guard and feel young again. Think of Charlie Chaplin or Josephine Baker, both masters of delight and innocence that melted even the hardest hearts. 6. The coquette, the master of delay. The coquette seduces not by giving, but by withholding. Their strength lies in self-sufficiency and control. They create tension through alternation, heat and coolness, attention and distance. The more they deny, the more they are desired. Queen Elizabeth I of England turned coquetry into strategy. She courted her suitors and nations alike, offering hope but never surrender. To embody the coquette is to understand that desire grows stronger in absence than in satisfaction. 7. The charmer, the disarmer through warmth. Charm is seduction without sex. The charmer creates comfort and delight. They focus attention entirely on others, listening, complimenting, easing tension. Evita Peron was a modern charmer. Her empathy and theatrical affection won over a nation. The charmer teaches that pleasure and attention are powerful currencies. Make others feel admired, and they will lower every defense. 8. The charismatic, the star, the magnetic presence. The charismatic radiates inner strength and conviction. Their energy inspires devotion and awe. They are both passionate and detached, confident yet unreachable. Figures like Joan of Arc, John F. Kennedy, and Duke Ellington mastered this aura, projecting a calm self-belief that drew others like gravity. Charisma cannot be faked. It comes from purpose and self-possession. When you believe in your own myth, others will too. 9. The seductive hybrid, the shapeshifter. The master seducer blends qualities from many types. Cleopatra could be a siren one moment, a coquette the next, and a charmer when needed. Casanova, too, could shift between rake and ideal lover, adapting to each woman's fantasies. To seduce effectively is to remain fluid, able to change tone, pace, and energy in response to the desires you awaken. 10. The anti-seducer, the force of repulsion. For every seductive quality, there is its opposite, the anti-seducer. These are the people who repel rather than attract. The insecure, the needy, the self-absorbed, the moralizer, the boaster. They talk too much, seek validation, and smother those around them. The anti-seducer reminds us that attraction is rooted in contrast and mystery. The moment you seem desperate, controlling, or predictable, the spell is broken. Summary: the seductive character is not about imitation, it is about awakening the energy within that others cannot ignore. Cleopatra, Casanova, Evita Peron, Duke Ellington, all understood that power begins with presence. Before strategy comes magnetism, before persuasion comes fascination. Once people are drawn to who you are, what you do next becomes effortless. The key to seduction is not to chase, but to attract. Part 2. The seductive process. Seduction is not a random act. It is a deliberate process. The true seducer never leaves success to chance. They study their target, strategize with patience, and move in calculated steps. In the opening phase, your goal is simple: to identify the right target, approach without threat, and awaken curiosity. Every seduction begins long before the first word is spoken. It begins with observation, selection, and psychology. Choose your battlefield wisely, and the rest of the campaign will unfold with ease. Phase 1. Choosing the right victim. 1. Choose the right victim. Seek one who will respond to your charms. The foundation of every successful seduction lies in choosing the right person. Not everyone can be seduced. The self-satisfied, the closed-minded, and the emotionally numb are poor targets. Look instead for those with an emptiness inside them, those who are bored, lonely, or secretly yearning for adventure. The right victim is one whose desires you can fulfill, whose weaknesses mirror your strengths. Cleopatra targeted powerful men, Caesar, Antony, because she knew their public strength concealed private fatigue. Casanova, in contrast, sought women who were neglected or misunderstood. The perfect target is not necessarily the most beautiful or the most powerful, but the one who needs what you have to offer. Choose wrong, and you will waste your energy in frustration. Choose right, and your seduction will unfold as naturally as water finding its level. 2. Create a false sense of security, approach indirectly. The direct approach is the language of aggression, not attraction. The moment you pursue too openly, people raise their guard. Seduction requires subtlety, patience, and disguise. Approach from the side, not from the front. Make your entry into their life appear natural and unintentional. Become a friend, a colleague, or an innocent admirer. Cleopatra did not storm Caesar's court demanding an audience. She had herself smuggled into his chambers rolled inside a carpet. By the time she appeared before him, his curiosity was already inflamed. To create a false sense of security is to lull your target into comfort. You seem harmless, genuine, perhaps even disinterested. Beneath that calm surface, however, you are studying every reaction and preparing your next move. The less they suspect your intentions, the more willingly they will yield when desire begins to grow. 3. Send mixed signals, keep them off balance. Certainty kills attraction. When people know exactly who you are and what you want, the mystery fades. The seducer must always remain unpredictable, both tender and distant, passionate yet restrained, confident yet humble. Mixed signals awaken curiosity. They force your target to interpret, to guess, to imagine. They begin to wonder, what do you really feel? What do you truly want? That uncertainty becomes a form of tension, a delicious imbalance that pulls them closer. Mata Hari, the legendary dancer and spy, embodied contradiction. She was sensual yet elusive, playful yet solemn, devoted yet untrustworthy. Men projected their fantasies onto her because they could never quite read her. To send mixed signals is to create emotional confusion, and confusion is the oxygen of seduction. 4. Appear to be an object of desire, social proof multiplies appeal. We are drawn to what others already admire. Desire is contagious. To appear desirable, you must first create the illusion that you already are. When people see that others want you, they assume there must be a reason. Cleopatra surrounded herself with lavish admirers and servants. Casanova was always seen in the company of women who laughed, danced, and adored him. This aura of desirability transformed them into prizes worth pursuing. Cultivate the atmosphere of abundance. Be seen with admirers, friends, or fans. Speak warmly of others who appreciate you. Even subtle hints, stories, compliments, traces of attention, make others compete for your favor. In seduction, isolation breeds suspicion, popularity breeds magnetism. When you seem to be in demand, your target will begin to imagine the hidden qualities that others see. They will want to uncover your secret and become the one who finally wins you. Once curiosity has been awakened and the first barriers of caution are lowered, the true work of seduction begins. In this phase, your task is to kindle desire, to turn mild interest into emotional hunger. Desire cannot be forced, it must be evoked. This is done through mystery, suggestion, empathy, and temptation. You do not chase the target, you make them chase the dream you represent. Phase 2, creating temptation. Once curiosity has been awakened and the first barriers of caution are lowered, the true work of seduction begins. In this phase, your task is to kindle desire, to turn mild interest into emotional hunger. Desire cannot be forced, it must be evoked. This is done through mystery, suggestion, empathy, and temptation. You do not chase the target, you make them chase the dream you represent. 5. Create an air of mystery, conceal intentions. Nothing is more seductive than what we cannot fully grasp. Mystery provokes imagination. Imagination breeds obsession. The moment people feel they understand you completely, the spell fades. To seduce effectively, reveal yourself only in fragments. Let others sense hidden depths, a story untold, a secret life behind your calm expression. Cleopatra, the eternal siren, never explained herself. She appeared and disappeared, leaving lovers guessing what she truly wanted. Greta Garbo's silence and distance made her one of Hollywood's most alluring figures. Her mystery became her power. Conceal your full intentions not just in romance but in all forms of persuasion. If people can predict your next move, they can control it. When they can't, they grow fascinated and cautious, two emotions that keep them bound to you. Remember, mystery is not emptiness, it is controlled revelation. 6. Master the art of insinuation, suggest rather than state. Seduction lives in the spaces between words. Direct statements force people to decide, to judge, to resist. Suggestion, on the other hand, slips beneath awareness and plants an idea as if it were their own. Use implication instead of declaration. A glance, a tone, a pause can say more than 1,000 words. Casanova rarely confessed his desire outright. He let a touch linger too long, a compliment hover between sincerity and mockery, until his target began to imagine what he might mean. The power of insinuation lies in participation. It forces the other person to complete the thought. What they imagine will always be more potent than anything you could say. To master insinuation is to become fluent in subtext. Speak through metaphor, humor, and half-truths. Leave trails rather than answers. A suggestion feels harmless. Only later does its meaning unfold, and by then resistance has turned to intrigue. 7. Enter their spirit, mirror their mood and desires. People are drawn to those who seem to understand them completely. To seduce someone, you must step inside their world, see through their eyes, feel their rhythms, and adapt to their emotional landscape. Mirroring builds connection. When someone laughs, you laugh softly. When they speak of pain, you listen with warmth. Like water taking the shape of its container, you flow around their defenses. Soon they feel that you get them like no one else does. Napoleon, in his rise to power, seduced not through words but by reflecting the dreams of France back to its people. He embodied their hunger for glory. On a personal level, the great seducers, whether lovers or leaders, are supreme listeners. They make others feel seen. To enter someone's spirit is to awaken their narcissism gently. People do not fall in love with you. They fall in love with the version of themselves they see reflected in your gaze. 8. Create temptation, awaken suppressed passions. Every person hides a forbidden desire, something they long for but cannot admit. Your power lies in discovering that secret and hinting that you can help fulfill it. Temptation works because it gives permission. It whispers, it's safe to want this. It's safe to feel this again. Cleopatra tempted Caesar not only with beauty, but with the dream of eternal glory. She made him feel young, daring, and godlike. You create temptation by offering contrast. To the overworked, offer relaxation. To the bored, excitement. To the moral, a hint of danger. The key is subtlety. Show just enough of the pleasure to come, but keep it slightly out of reach. When you awaken what people have buried, desire, rebellion, freedom, you make them feel alive again. That feeling, more than anything else, binds them to you. Summary of Phase 1. Seduction begins with psychology, not action. Choose wisely, move subtly, and never reveal your full intent. Create safety, stir confusion, and let your desirability grow in the imagination of your target. At this stage, you are not yet seducing, you are preparing the field. The seeds of fascination are planted quietly, beneath the surface, where resistance cannot reach. Phase 3. Leading to surrender. Desire alone is not enough. To complete a seduction, you must lead your target from fascination to surrender, from imagining you to needing you. This phase transforms curiosity into dependence. It requires control, patience, and artistry. You do not conquer by force, you guide your victim, step by step, into emotional captivity. 9. Keep them in suspense, delay gratification. The human heart craves excitement, but excitement cannot exist without uncertainty. Once people know what to expect, desire withers. The true seducer uses suspense to maintain emotional tension. Reveal just enough to keep them hopeful, then pull back. Leave messages unanswered, delay meetings, or change tone unexpectedly. The wait becomes intoxicating. Elizabeth I mastered this principle. She promised marriage, then withdrew it, making kings and courtiers beg for her favor. Suspense transforms longing into obsession. By keeping gratification just out of reach, you create the illusion that what you offer must be extraordinary. 10. use the demonic power of words, enchant through language. Words are spells. They can inflame, comfort, confuse, and possess. Seductive language bypasses reason and speaks directly to the imagination. The greatest seducers, Don Juan, Casanova, and even politicians like Napoleon, understood that tone, rhythm, and timing mattered more than logic. Soft words, poetic images, and gentle exaggeration awaken emotion and lower resistance. Flattery, when done artfully, is not deception, it is transformation. Your words make people feel admired, unique, and seen. When your voice becomes a source of pleasure, they will listen to you even when you say nothing at all. 11. Pay attention to detail. Every gesture matters. Grand declarations often appear calculated, but small details reveal sincerity. A thoughtful compliment, a carefully chosen gift, a remembered word, all show attention and care. Marilyn Monroe understood that every gesture, from how she turned her head to how she laughed, contributed to her aura. Seduction thrives on such details. They communicate intimacy and effort. Each time your target notices something tailored precisely to them, their defenses weaken. They begin to feel that your connection is special, fated, and personal. 12. Poeticize your presence. Become larger than life. To hold someone's imagination, you must transcend the ordinary. Poeticizing your presence means becoming a symbol, something more than flesh and bone. Cleopatra did this through spectacle. Her entrances were theater, her voice music, her silences suspense. Stars like Rudolph Valentino and modern icons like Beyoncé understand this principle instinctively. Their image lingers because it feels mythical. Use setting, clothing, words, and timing to create atmosphere. You are not simply a person, you are an experience. When others think of you, they should see light, color, and emotion, not mere fact. 13. Disarm through strategic weakness. Vulnerability invites trust. Strength attracts admiration, but vulnerability inspires attachment. When you reveal a touch of weakness, nervousness, honesty, or humility, you make others feel superior and safe. Napoleon, who could command armies, melted Josephine's heart by confessing his loneliness. The seducer knows that pretending to be invincible creates distance. Showing imperfection invites intimacy. Strategic weakness is not helplessness, it is theater. You display emotion at the right moment, then retreat. The target feels protective, powerful, and emotionally invested. 14. Confuse desire and reality. Build a perfect illusion. People rarely fall in love with reality, they fall for the dream. Your task is to blur the line between fantasy and truth until they cannot tell one from the other. Lead your target into a world shaped by imagination, through words, symbols, and emotion. Romantic settings, shared secrets, and heightened experiences make ordinary life feel enchanted. Like an artist, you create a narrative where you are both hero and muse. The target begins to project their fantasies onto you, and in doing so, they trap themselves in your illusion. 15. Isolate the victim, cut them off from the world. Connection to others is the greatest threat to your power. The more voices your target hears, the weaker your influence becomes. Gradually draw them away from their usual environment. Casanova often invited lovers to secluded villas. Cleopatra took Antony down the Nile, far from Rome's politics. Physical isolation leads to emotional isolation. Soon they depend on you for stimulation, approval, and identity. Do not demand exclusivity, create it naturally through pleasure. When they feel that no one understands them like you do, isolation becomes a choice. 16. Prove yourself through action, demonstrate devotion. At the height of uncertainty, the target will test you. They need proof that your feelings, or your loyalty, are real. One dramatic gesture can erase doubt and secure surrender. This does not mean blind sacrifice. The act must be bold, selfless, and unmistakably for them. When Caesar defended Cleopatra's throne against her enemies, his risk proved his passion. The gesture transformed attraction into devotion. The point is not the action itself but the emotional weight it carries. When you show that you are willing to give, the target's heart opens fully, they feel safe enough to yield. Summary of Phase 3. Leading to surrender is a dance between tension and reassurance. You create suspense, speak to their imagination, control atmosphere, show humanity, and prove devotion. Through illusion and emotion, you turn their mind into a landscape of dreams where only you exist. When this phase is complete, they no longer think of whether they should give in, only how soon they can. Phase 4. Deepening the spell. When desire becomes attachment, the seduction enters its most delicate stage. Now you must deepen the emotional spell, transforming attraction into devotion. The key is to reach beneath the adult surface of logic and awaken the childlike emotions that rule the heart. You must stir the hidden instincts of longing, rebellion, awe, and dependency. This is where the seducer becomes almost mystical. The connection is no longer physical or rational, it is psychological and spiritual. 17. Affect a regression. Awaken childlike emotions. Every person carries within them the child they once were, eager, vulnerable, yearning for comfort and play. When you awaken that buried self, you open a direct line to their emotions. Speak softly. Be playful. Offer affection that feels unconditional. Allow them to drop their guard and escape the burdens of adulthood. The natural type excels here, carefree, spontaneous, full of wonder. Josephine Baker captivated Paris because she embodied joy. She reminded her audience of innocence and freedom. To affect a regression is not to manipulate but to reawaken simplicity, the feeling of being cared for, safe, and understood without judgment. Once your target begins to associate you with that safety, they will cling to you instinctively, just as a child clings to the one who soothes them. 18. Stir the transgressive and forbidden. Make risk exciting. Seduction loses its power when it feels safe or predictable. People are drawn to what defies convention, to what feels thrillingly wrong. The forbidden has a pulse that ordinary pleasure lacks. Great seducers understand this tension. They hint at danger, at boundaries broken, whether moral, social, or emotional. Cleopatra lured Antony away from his empire. Their love was a rebellion against duty. The risk only deepened his passion. Introduce an element of danger, secrecy, forbidden meetings, rule-breaking. It need not be criminal, it might simply defy expectation. The thrill of transgression fuses desire with adrenaline, turning ordinary attraction into obsession. When the target feels they are stepping into the unknown with you, every moment becomes charged with excitement and fear. That volatility keeps the spell alive. 19. Use the spiritual lure, blend desire with higher ideals. At its peak, seduction transcends flesh and becomes something holy. People crave not only pleasure, but meaning. They want to believe their emotions have a purpose. When you merge desire with higher ideals, beauty, destiny, enlightenment, you elevate the relationship into myth. Mystics, poets, and revolutionaries have long used this technique. Joan of Arc stirred loyalty through divine conviction. Rasputin fused sensual charisma with religious mystique. Lovers often fall hardest when they feel fated to meet. Make your presence feel symbolic. Speak of destiny, of shared energy, of transformation. Present the connection as something greater than either of you. When the target begins to believe that being with you gives their life depth or purpose, they will follow you anywhere. 20. Mix pleasure with pain. Keep emotions volatile. Pleasure alone can lull people into comfort. Pain alone drives them away. But the combination, alternating warmth and distance, sweetness and sting, creates emotional dependency. The heart becomes addicted not to constant joy, but to the cycle of highs and lows. Lovers of the great seducers often recall not the comfort but the turmoil, the passion that felt uncontrollable. A brief withdrawal after intense affection can make the target desperate for your return. A soft apology after tension can melt them completely. The unpredictability keeps them alert, emotional, and engaged. This is not cruelty, it is rhythm. Just as music needs tension and release, seduction needs contrast. Pleasure tastes sweeter when it follows uncertainty. Summary of Phase 4. To deepen the spell, you must reach into the primal layers of emotion, childhood comfort, forbidden excitement, spiritual longing, and the storm of mixed feelings. Each element binds your target more tightly, not through reason but through sensation. They begin to feel that life without you is dull, flat, and colorless. You have become not just a person, but the emotional world they live in. Phase 5. Moving in for the kill. This is the decisive phase. You have stirred desire, deepened the attachment, and shaped an emotional world in which you are central. Now you convert longing into action. The final moves are not frantic. They are measured, bold, and theatrical. You do not force surrender. You manufacture the conditions where surrender becomes the simplest, most irresistible choice. 21. Give them space to fall. Let them pursue you. The paradox of power in seduction is that the final act often requires withdrawal. Once your target feels secure in your presence, their urgency softens. To reignite desire, step back. Let absence do the heavy lifting. With a subtle retreat, you change roles. The pursuer becomes the pursued. Hint at other commitments, grow slightly cooler, or simply be less available. This creates a gap that your target instinctively wants to fill. They will replay your moments together, magnify your value, and try to win back what seems to be slipping away. This is not manipulation for its own sake, it is a strategic pause. When timed well, the withdrawal transforms pursuit into passion. The person who once chased now invests energy to reclaim you, and in doing so, they confirm their devotion. 22. Use physical lures. Touch, scent, eye contact. When the mind is primed, the body completes the conversion. Physical lures are subtle, sensory, and immediate. A particular perfume that lingers in memory, a hand placed reassuringly at the small of the back, deliberate eye contact that seems to hold a secret. Touch must feel natural and appropriately scaled, never abrupt. A light brushing of the arm, a warm embrace, a fingertip that pauses, all register deep in the nervous system. Scent is especially powerful because it bypasses reason and goes straight to emotion. A signature scent becomes a trigger. Eyes are the shorthand of intimacy. A steady, unblinking look signals intensity and focus. These cues translate your cultivated fantasy into bodily reality. They anchor the emotional spell in sensation, making the relationship visceral rather than merely imagined. 23. Lead them to the point of no return. Emotional dependency. The aim is not domination, but deep attachment. Gradually shift the relationship so that the target's well-being, emotional, social, or even practical, becomes tied to you. This is achieved by offering experiences, support, and validation they cannot easily find elsewhere. Be the person who calms their fears, fuels their dreams, and celebrates their small victories. Share rituals and private moments that exist only between you. Encourage confessions and reveal parts of yourself that invite reciprocity. Over time, their inner life will increasingly include you. Decisions, moods, and priorities begin to orbit your presence. The point of no return is not a dramatic trap but a quiet realization. They feel incomplete without you. At this stage, leaving is costly, not merely inconvenient, and the emotional cost of separation becomes real. That is the seducer's deepest success. 24. Beware the aftereffects, and gracefully, preserve reputation. Every seduction has consequences. If your goal is a lasting connection, you must safeguard the relationship against complacency, envy, or resentment. If your intention is temporary, you must manage the exit with care. In both cases, reputation matters. After the crescendo, do not become predictable or possessive. Continue to surprise. Continue to value mystery and absence. If the relationship ends, make the departure swift, dignified, and, if possible, graceful. The way you leave often defines how you are remembered. A sudden, elegant withdrawal can cement your myth. A petty or vindictive ending destroys it. Protecting your reputation means avoiding public humiliation for either party. Remember that seduction is theater. Play your part well to the final curtain. The legendary seducers who returned to favor did so because their exits were as artful as their entrances. Summary of Phase 5. The final moves are equal parts restraint and sensory precision. Step back to ignite pursuit. Use touch, scent, and gaze to make desire physical, build attachment through rituals and exclusive meaning, and when necessary, end with style and dignity. The kill is not violence. It is the elegant conversion of longing into willing surrender. Part 3. The seductive phase in history. Seduction is as old as civilization itself. The same principles that move a single heart have moved empires, shaped revolutions, and defined eras. In history's most powerful figures, we find not only ambition and intelligence, but a refined understanding of human emotion, the ability to charm, persuade, and enchant on a grand scale. The following figures, Cleopatra, Catherine the Great, Casanova, the Empress Dowager Cixi, and Duke Ellington, each mastered seduction in their own time. Their tools were illusion, attention, and emotional control. Their art was not only to attract, but to inspire devotion. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, the Queen of Illusion. Cleopatra understood that true power does not come from the throne, but from the imagination. When she met Julius Caesar, Egypt was divided and her reign uncertain. She could have appealed through politics or logic, but instead, she used theater. Her legendary entrance, smuggled into Caesar's private chambers wrapped in a carpet, was not desperation, it was design. She appeared before him not as a ruler begging for favor, but as a vision of mystery and audacity. Caesar, the conqueror of nations, found himself conquered by wonder. Cleopatra spoke in symbols, perfumed sails, banquets lit by torches, conversations laced with philosophy and sensuality. She made Caesar feel larger than life, as though their meeting were destiny. Through illusion, she turned seduction into statecraft and secured her place in history as the woman who conquered Rome's greatest men. Catherine the Great, the Empress of Attention. Catherine the Great of Russia transformed seduction into governance. When she arrived in Russia as a young, foreign princess, she was ignored by her husband and isolated at court. But Catherine understood a universal truth: attention is power. She made herself indispensable through charm and intelligence, winning allies, learning the Russian language, and surrounding herself with admirers. To every person she met, she gave undivided attention. Courtiers left her presence feeling enlightened, appreciated, even loved. As empress, she maintained a string of lovers, but her true genius lay in balance. She used affection without losing authority. Her warmth inspired loyalty, her composure commanded respect. She turned passion into politics, using human connection as the instrument of rule. Catherine showed that seduction, when guided by intellect, can build empires, not destroy them. Casanova, the master of emotional theater. Giacomo Casanova's name has become synonymous with love and adventure, yet his seductions were not crude conquests, they were works of emotional art. He understood that desire is not physical, it is psychological. Casanova approached each woman as a unique mystery. He listened, observed, and adjusted his behavior to her mood and history. He created experiences, a moonlit gondola ride, a whispered confession, a shared secret, that made each lover feel she was the only one who had ever truly moved him. He used storytelling, humor, and intelligence to cast a spell of intimacy. His triumphs were not in numbers but in depth. Women remembered him for how he made them feel. Casanova's genius was empathy disguised as seduction. He showed that the greatest pleasure one can give another is the feeling of being understood. Empress Dowager Cixi, the seductress of power. In 19th century China, the Empress Dowager Cixi rose from concubine to absolute ruler of an empire. Her weapon was neither beauty nor birthright, it was control of perception. Cixi mastered the art of emotional camouflage. Around the emperor, she was compliant and demure. Around the court ministers, commanding and decisive. She turned invisibility into strategy, allowing others to underestimate her while she quietly positioned herself for dominance. Her charm lay in restraint. She gave favors sparingly, spoke softly, and rewarded loyalty with precision. By concealing her true ambitions behind grace, she outmaneuvered rivals who mistook her calm for weakness. Cixi proved that seduction can operate even in politics, the ability to appear harmless while holding all the strings. Duke Ellington, the charmer of modern elegance. In the 20th century, seduction took new form, not in palaces, but in performance. Duke Ellington, one of the greatest jazz composers, seduced not lovers but audiences. His power was not physical allure, but atmosphere. Ellington understood the psychology of pleasure. He used music, lighting, and style to create an emotional world that drew listeners in. His presence was refined, his manners impeccable. He carried himself with quiet confidence, never demanding attention, but always commanding it. Like the charmer archetype, Ellington's seduction lay in grace. He made people feel elevated by proximity, part of something cultured and timeless. His music, smooth and mysterious, invited surrender without a word. Through artistry and restraint, he demonstrated that seduction can exist in every act of creation that awakens emotion and wonder. Summary of Part 3. From Cleopatra's illusions to Ellington's elegance, these figures reveal a single truth: seduction is not about conquest, it is about influence. Each mastered the balance of presence and mystery, attention and control. They remind us that the most powerful form of seduction is not manipulation, but imagination, the ability to make others see the world through your vision and to make them want to stay there. Part 4. Anti-seduction and reversal. Every power carries its shadow, and seduction is no exception. Just as mastery can elevate, misuse can destroy. The same qualities that attract, confidence, charm, mystery, can, when unbalanced, become repellent. Understanding the forces of anti-seduction is as vital as learning the seductive arts themselves, for they reveal where desire ends and desperation begins. This final part of the art of seduction is both a warning and a reflection: when not to seduce, how to guard against manipulation, and how awareness itself becomes the ultimate defense. Common pitfalls of the anti-seducer. The anti-seducer is the embodiment of what repels rather than attracts. Their mistakes are rarely deliberate. They arise from emotion, neediness, insecurity, or ego. Greene identifies several universal pitfalls. Overexposure. Mystery is seductive. Transparency kills it. When you reveal too much, your plans, your feelings, your vulnerabilities, you leave nothing for the imagination. Desire dies in full daylight. The overexposed person becomes predictable and dull, no longer a source of excitement but of exhaustion. Overconfidence. Confidence attracts, arrogance alienates. Those who boast, dominate, or seek to impress often expose their insecurity. True seducers draw others in with quiet certainty, not loud performance. When you insist on admiration, you force resistance instead. Jealousy. Nothing poisons attraction faster than possessiveness. The jealous person turns passion into control, curiosity into accusation. They reveal weakness, the inability to inspire loyalty through magnetism alone. Seduction thrives on freedom, jealousy suffocates it. Guilt. Guilt is the anti-seducer's most subtle weapon. By demanding sympathy, they reverse the polarity of attraction. Instead of offering pleasure, they offer emotional labor. The target feels burdened, not enchanted. Seduction ends the moment someone feels responsible for your happiness. The anti-seducer reminds us that true charm requires detachment, not desperation. The less you cling, the more others reach. When not to seduce, ethical reflections. Seduction, at its core, is a study of influence. But influence can heal or harm depending on intent. There are moments when to seduce is to exploit, when another's vulnerability is too deep, or when manipulation replaces mutual pleasure. Ethical seduction respects choice. It invites, never coerces. It offers transformation, not control. Robert Greene reminds us that the aim is mastery of self, not domination of others. To seduce without conscience is to invite collapse. Reputation, relationships, and inner peace all erode under the weight of deceit. The true seducer knows when to stop, when to step back, and when to leave fantasy untouched. The reversal principle, awareness as power. Every law of seduction can be reversed. Once you see the mechanics of charm, you also see through them. Awareness is the ultimate antidote to manipulation. When you recognize the siren's allure, the rake's intensity, or the charmer's attentiveness for what they are, strategies, you regain freedom. The spell breaks. You can admire the performance without surrendering to it. This is the final mastery Greene speaks of, to be both player and observer. To understand seduction so deeply that you can wield it ethically, or resist it entirely. Summary of Part 5. The art of seduction is a double-edged sword. Used with empathy, it inspires, uplifts, and connects. Used carelessly, it corrupts both seducer and seduced. Overexposure, arrogance, jealousy, and guilt destroy magnetism. Restraint, grace, and self-awareness preserve it. Above all, remember the final reversal. When you become conscious of the game, you are no longer its pawn, you are its master. Conclusion. Seduction is not a trick. It is not deceit nor manipulation for its own sake. It is, at its essence, the study of human psychology, the art of shaping emotion through imagination. Every gesture, every pause, every word that moves someone deeply draws on the same timeless principles that Robert Greene reveals in The Art of Seduction. Throughout history, the masters of influence, from Cleopatra to Duke Ellington, understood that desire is not about possession. It is about awakening something within others, curiosity, excitement, wonder. Seduction works because it mirrors life itself, a dance between what is seen and what is imagined. To master seduction is to master presence, the ability to control how you make people feel. It is to understand that emotion outweighs logic, that subtlety surpasses force, and that true power lies not in domination but in attraction. When you cultivate charm, mystery, and empathy, you become magnetic. You stop chasing and start drawing the world toward you. Remember, seduction is not confined to romance. It exists in leadership, communication, creativity, and persuasion. Every great artist, speaker, or visionary is a seducer, one who leads others willingly into their world. So as this audiobook closes, take with you this final truth. Seduction is the power to move hearts, not to control them. It is a language of emotion that, when mastered, becomes a lifelong art. If you enjoyed this audiobook, subscribe to the channel for more transformative audiobooks and lessons. Continue learning, continue refining your presence, and remember, the most seductive thing you can ever become is unforgettable.